Hello everyone, today we are playing Cities Skylines 2 Richie Canaletto. So here we are guys, a new city with a new region, and you probably know the reason why. The new content creator pack is now available to download on the Paradox Mods workshop, and the region pack is called Netherlands. And as a Dutchie, you know I have to use this and build a Dutch-inspired city, right? I mean, Richie Bay is, of course, very American-inspired, so we could not incorporate that with the build that we are currently doing. But don't worry, Richie Bay is still here. But for now, I really want to make use of the Dutch Content Creator Pack with this beautiful map created by Poplar Ponderosa. Big shout out to you. With the map called Zwolle. Now, fun fact, as a Dutchie, I've never been to Zwolle myself. So I did look up the city a little bit on Google Maps, and I saw the infrastructure a little bit. So it is a little tricky to get this right, but I like a challenge. We are playing on a normal mode, and we'll just have to see how it goes from there. Now, two things first. If you are interested about the background of this map called Zwolle, it is a real place in the Netherlands. Please check out this awesome video Poplar Ponderosa made on their channel. They give us a brief history about the city, about the structure of the map and the rivers, how it's made with the dikes and the little Easter eggs. So be sure to check that out. I will put the link in the description below. The other thing is, of course, the full content of the region pack of the Netherlands. Now, I'm not gonna showcase that right here in this video. We're gonna dive in just building up this city, or start of the village basically, and around this area. But if you are interested in what this pack has to offer, please check out the other video that I will link in the description below by City Planner Builds. You can see all the buildings up close, all the service buildings, the structure of it all, and hopefully get a little bit inspired. Oh, and before I forget, why the name Richie Canaletto? Well, I've been thinking about a few different kind of names incorporating Dutch-like city names like Whiskerdam or Richie Gracht, named after the famous canals of Amsterdam, of course. And honestly, I still do like Whiskerdam, so if you guys enjoy that name a little bit more, please let me know. But as you may know, I really love my little big guy Richie, my Maine Coon here at home, and I wanted to incorporate that in the name as well. And after some research, the name Canaletto came up. And Canaletto was a Venetian painter living in the 16th century. The canals were often his subject as well. So it just rang really nicely, and to me it just makes sense. So for this video, we're gonna start off on this starting tile right here. Unfortunately, we're not gonna start off building up this beautiful area, the fort with the canals around it in its star shape. Why? Well, we don't have unlock all or unlimited money here, so we don't have the row housing just yet. And this is quite the historic build that I want to make use of the new row housing of the Dutch Content Creator Pack. So we're gonna start off right here. This is also where Poplar Ponderosa makes sure that we can start, which is really nice. We have some plumbing underneath here coming in that is connected with the other neighboring cities. So basically, we can transfer and export everything in and out, which is really nice. And basically, I'm gonna start off with setting up the infrastructure around this starting area, making sure I have a little bit of an idea about what is going on. Meaning, where do I want to build the main roads to make sure that can handle a little bit more traffic. And of course, the rest of it will be more of building like a typical Dutch neighborhood where I used to live in and grew up in. So it's going to be really funny to recreate this right here alongside with you guys as well. So let's start cracking. So here we are with the start of Ricci Canaletto, and as you can see, I've already added a lot of infrastructure and a lot of roads around this area. And I'm going to showcase a little bit what my thought process was. So with the beginning of this area right here, I love this cute little bike rack that has been put in by Poplar Ponderosa. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to demolish that. But I've upgraded these roads to a double lane road to handle a little bit more traffic around this area because I feel like it is gonna be busy around here, and especially when we add more transportation options. So this road goes all the way around this star-shaped fort. I feel like that makes the most sense, not on it, because this should be cultural heritage. So basically, I don't think that these roads are necessarily upgraded in the future. Maybe one, and that is why we have this normal basic road going across this whole area, but the rest should be all alleyways and small streets anyway. Now over here on this section, I've already noticed that we have some fertile land over here, so I'm gonna use that, of course, with some farms and some industry. You see that quite a lot in the Netherlands, that when a farm is placed, there is some industry close by, basically making the products right there and then. And the same is over here with the same fertile land. So we're going to use that as well. I've placed one windmill, but we're going to export and import some electricity as well, just to keep the cost low in the beginning of this playthrough. And now we enter this section right here. And you might be thinking, Martin, why so many dirt roads? Well, basically, in my head, this is already a precaution for bike lanes. I feel like bike lanes should be incoming or should be in the game anyway. And hopefully I can upgrade that then easily in the future, making sure that the bike lanes are, you know, placed around this whole neighborhood to make a safe direction for the bike users to go and cross the city basically from one point to another, which is very typical for the Netherlands. It's called woonerf, where basically it's very safe to walk around with your children, play around, use a bike, and basically cars are not that much allowed in this whole area. So that is why I've used a lot of alleyways where parking is not necessarily available, but I did use these kind of roads, which I do like, with a little bit of grass and a little bit of a tree right here to have some parking in between anyway. So hopefully when we fill this whole area in with the Dutch region pack, I think it all comes together quite nicely. We're gonna use the single home family homes right over here, but also mix it up with some low rent apartments and some normal apartments when we unlock those in the near future, of course. And here and there we have some open spaces left, as you can see, which I think is quite nice for some service buildings, maybe some elementary schools or a high school or a small clinic. Or even here, I think it can be nice to have like a small commercial district in this little zone right here. Maybe thinking even like in this little district right here, because I feel like not enough commercial zoning should be placed around this area. Maybe some restaurants or some local bars, but not like a supermarket or big clothing stores. That wouldn't make any sense to me, and I don't think you would see that in Zwolle, where this map is based upon anyway. So let's zone this in with the Dutch region pack and hopefully get some citizens in Ricci Canaletto. Okay, I have to say, it is kind of crazy to see your childhood home in City Skylines too. So this is basically the home where I grew up in, not necessarily in Zwolle, not nearly in Ricci Canaletto, but we have the same houses or the same kind of houses in Utrecht in the Netherlands, in the suburbs called Hooggraven, where I used to live when I was a child. And we had these like long streets like this one where multiple houses were just in the same style. We lived like closely in the middle, so it was basically around here. And yeah, it's crazy to me. The details are amazing. The style and the architecture is so on point with this. So I really enjoy this pack already. And this is just basically level 1 building. So I'm really curious how it's gonna look like when this is all leveled up. Anyway, before I start talk any nonsense about my childhood, we can see a little bit of a thingy here. The zoning is a little bit pushed back, as you can see, but I don't mind it, to be honest. So in a lot of places, we have these extra paths that connect with the sidewalks and a little bit of grass in between. But that is so typical Dutch to basically have the street a sidewalk and a little green grass patch over here before your front yard starts. So I don't mind this at all. We can really make something nice of it with some detailing, maybe add some grass, maybe add some fencing or some garbage cans or stuff like that, even some trees here and there because I cannot place them here on this alleyway. So to me, this is just perfect when we start to detail. I've already recolored every single one of them, so every block is in the same color. With a little a combination right here and there. And I started a little detailing section on the farms over here when placing this. I think it looks quite nice, or at least better than the vanilla game that we have right here. This is just really boring to me, but I'm gonna detail this way further with some grass patches and maybe even some dirt roads or stuff like that to make it a little bit more realistic looking and give it that really Dutch farm vibe. But as I was doing this, I've also noticed that demand was really going down for low commercial and a low residential and even for industrial zoning. And I was wondering why. As you can see, we have nothing anymore. I did notice why eventually, because we have a lot of crime in our Dutch city right now. I haven't placed any service building thus far, to the exemption of the small clinic. I'm gonna showcase that real quickly. Where did I put that thing? Right here. So this is the small Dutch clinic, which also makes a lot of sense in the perspective for the Netherlands. We have these posts with doctors over here. We call them een huisartsenkliniek. Necessarily, they don't have an ambulance, so to have one or two here would make the most sense because it would be way too expensive to have like a small clinic with an ambulance. Most of the time, the ambulance are situated at bigger hospitals and not at clinics. So this to me makes sense, especially in this type of neighborhood right here. Also, quick side note, as for the commercial zoning, I've placed the the Eastern European pack around this area, and I do like it because it has that old school commercial vibe. I've never played with this pack before, so I'm just gonna zone in and let the game decide what we need and let it level up, but then gonna recolor some models here and there because this is a little bit too colorful in my taste. I do like it though, but not necessarily for a Dutch build. But let me know what you guys think, and if you have any suggestions on what to use else, because I do like the variation in the game, of course. Now, time to make some investments around here in Ricci Canaletto. And first off, let's build us a police station, right? So we can use the Dutch one as well, which is quite nice. I've never seen it. I think it's quite small as well. but I am feeling like we should not place this in the neighborhood, I feel, nor close to the industrial. That doesn't make any sense. It would make the most sense to place it in this city area, which basically is the city center, right? But the building is quite modernistic looking. So I feel like maybe on this separate island, and I was thinking right here on the end of it, I think it could be looking quite nicely over here if it fits. Yes, it does. It fits perfectly. So this way, police cars can really go in and out of the city really quickly, I feel, and hopefully get the crime rate a little bit lower here in Richie Canaletto. Also, I'm going to check at the mods workshop if we can download like Dutch police cars and Dutch ambulances. Let me know in the comments below if that is the case and if you have any links for me, because it's always easier for me to find them than searching them myself. But let's invest a little bit more, by the way. I do want to place an elementary school as well, because educated people hopefully don't become criminals. I don't know if that's the case, but maybe that's the case in the game. So let's just start off with a basic elementary school. We had those unique shapes here in the city. I think right here is one of them, and we have hopefully in the future this bike lane running right here. So that is actually quite perfect to have a elementary school right here, so the children go to school quite safely. So let's just place it over here. Let's see how this building looks like. Oh my god, it's just this brings back memories. This is so cool. My elementary school in the Netherlands had like a white brick, but I believe we can recolor this quite easily. So if you want to, you can definitely and even add some more of these elementary schools, basically looking not the same, and make use of its uniqueness, I guess. That was a weird sentence. You know what I mean. Just had another cup of coffee. Maybe that helps. Anyway, I'm gonna unpause the game and let the simulation run for a while. Hopefully crime rate will go down and demand will go back up again. Also, we had 2 achievements in the meantime. So I unlocked the advanced road tool, so I can remove some of these extra crossings right over here to make it a little bit more safe for bikers and pedestrians on the bike lanes in the future, and not necessarily using the connection here on the road. I hope that works out pretty well. And then, of course, as you can see, I've already unlocked parking areas as well. Again, we don't have a lot of parking here, and we're gonna add some apartments around this area as well. Also, we needed the parking areas here in this industrial area as well, as you can see, which is being used already quite a lot. Don't look at the smokestacks. I hate this. I really do. But I hope this just levels quickly and we get rid of some smokestacks. And if it doesn't, we're gonna get rid of them by hand. So it's gonna look perfect. But for now, let's just keep it as the way it is. But that also, of course, means that we've now unlocked row housing, but that is for the next episode. Right now, we're going to focus a little bit more on these neighborhoods, detail them a little bit more, and make sure that the people feel here right at home. Okay, here we are, and I think I went a little bit overboard when it comes to the detailing, but it's been a while since I've had so much fun doing it anyway, and I think that is a good thing. So let me showcase a little bit what I've been doing. First up, the neighborhoods. So all of these row housing now have the proper sidewalks in front of them connected to their front yards. We've added a lot of trees, which in my opinion is quite realistic, because I lived in these streets and we've had these trees in front of their houses. So it's awesome to recreate this a little bit around here in this area as well. I think it's a lovely, quiet neighborhood where you can stroll down with your doggy, and hopefully bikes will get added soon. because I think that would be amazing to see and make this part of the city even feel more alive. Now, as for the rest, I've also added these parking lots, as you can see, or parking areas. We've had the space left between the normal road and the dirt road. Remember, that is becoming a bike lane in the near future. And with these easy small parking lots, you can just spruce up the place so easily, which I think is great. And as you can see, it's being used actually, so it is a great addition to the game with this mod. So I've added normal parking lots, but also these electric vehicle stands, as you can see, which is very Dutch to me. And on the sides, I often place like these container pickup areas, because most of the time in a Dutch neighborhood, we don't put our container in front of our house for the trash to be collected. But most of the times there are these container areas, basically a sort of a pickup point where then the garbage vans can pick up all the trash in one neighborhood at once. I don't know what my obsession is with these containers. I've built them before, but I don't know. Maybe it's just an animation that I'm missing in the game a little bit more. Now, around the clinic, I made sure there's a lot more greenery, which is a little bit safer for the bikers to use with the bike lanes in the future. Also, the parking lot just made sense to me close by to the clinic. And we still have some open space in the back, as you can see. But I have some plans for that in the future. The same goes for the elementary school. I've changed the color, which reminds me a little bit more of my old elementary school back in the day, but I've also left the space quite open so I can add more wings, and maybe we can detail that in the future when we are at full capacity. And to add a little fun and a little bit of a difference in this neighborhood and make sure not everything feels the same, we also have a small construction yard right here in this neighborhood. Maybe a new apartment complex is being built, and it's sponsored by a Banhammer Bank. So we added a foundation, as you can see, with some walls that are being constructed, a crane, some trees and bushes, a delivery van, and of course some walls around it so people cannot see necessarily yet what is happening. And remember that I said I'm just gonna place the Eastern European low commercial zoning and see what happens? Well, typical me, I've demolished everything and made sure now everything fit in perfectly. We've added posters, we've added terraces around this local area, and I also really made sure the surfaces made sense and everything felt more cohesive. And I have to say, I really enjoy the look and feel of these buildings. I'm wondering why I've never played with the Eastern European pack before, but I guess that's my bad. Here in this section, I've made a combination between the Eastern European pack and just the vanilla game one, because I thought it was also very normal that maybe some of these older buildings got demolished or did not survive the war, for instance, and something else was being replaced later in time with a new architectural style. And the same goes over here for this small commercial district. We have a lot of beautiful buildings combined with a gas station on the corner where people can fill up their tank quite easily. We have some wall art, two small, more modern looking buildings, which I don't necessarily like the blue color of this building, but then I remember the Dutch supermarket called Albert Heijn is always blue. So I left it that way and went a little crazy with the new city bollards that we have now in the game. But I think it just looks fantastic. Now I'm gonna pause the game for just a minute because there's one thing I want to add as well. And that is the new graveyard that we've had with the Dutch region pack, which is awesome looking. And we can totally control how it's going to look like in the future. However, I'm going to keep this one fairly small because to me, this is like a city graveyard. So we're not going to expand it a lot because we don't necessarily have the place for it. And I was thinking where I am going to place this. But there was this small looking island over here, here we are. And I think it's just going to be amazing if I just put it in right over here. Also, I think it's meant to be because it totally fits like a glove around here. So I'm just going to place it right over here. Then add some roads around it, and hopefully this will work out perfectly for our city. Okay, now I'm gonna unpause the game. Hopefully this works out. I had to use Anarchy a little bit to make this bridge over this crossing, but I think it will work. Let me just wait and see if we not have any problems or anything, but it looks like everything is working out. This is even giving us 3 well-being and 3 indoor recreation. That's actually kind of nice. Yes, it's already working. It's already working. That is awesome. So now we've got all our bases covered in Richie Canaletto. Don't mind the industry just yet. I know this is not perfect. We're gonna edit this in the future. I'm searching, and I'm gonna search a little bit more on the internet how to make realistic looking farms in City Skylines, because I'm not necessarily too happy and too keen on what's going on here. So that's about it for today's video, and if you made it this far, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for me about creating realistic farm fields or any mods that in particular I should download, please let me know in the comments down below, because that would be a great help. And talking about feedback, I want to make this my most detailed build just yet, and with that comes Dutch street names, which we now can do, and we can finally see the change in those cute little signage. So if you have any suggestions for nice little street names in Dutch, please let me know. Coming up next is expanding Richie Canaletto a little bit more and take a look at some new city service buildings. But for now, I want to thank you again for watching and have a lovely day. Bye bye everyone.